Here.
Michael,
Here.
John,
Here.
Joycelyn,
Here.
Michelle.
Okay, thank you.
Apologies for that. And then we're.
And the only matter we have on this end is to approve the agenda. So I'm glad to entertain.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, it's unanimous.
Thank you.
The little bit we had to do is now accomplished. So Shannon and Chris, it's your show.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Ron and team. Good morning, everyone. Delighted to be with you. Looking forward to sharing with you a sourcing update. And we have a group of candidates that Chris is going to highlight at a very high level in advance of your first round interviews, which will happen next Monday, the 29th, as noted on your calendar. So, and then in closing, we'll talk a little bit about next steps with that round of interviews. So with that, Chris, let me turn it over to you to give a broad sourcing update in terms of where we've been out in the market.
They're not going to use names, are they? We need to find out if they're going to use names. No, they're not. Okay.
No, we are not going to use names for today's purposes. We are going to give you a high-level overview of role and scope and geographic region where they are located today, and maybe a couple of other key points. Chris?
Hi, can you all hear me?
Okay, now we can hear you. Yes. All right, take it away with a sourcing update.
Sorry for the technical difficulties there. Just to give you sort of the broad swath of where we've been searching throughout these last few weeks. There's around 24 library systems across the nation that are similar in size or larger than Mid-Continent Public Library in terms of branches, service population, staffing levels, et cetera. We have been aggressively sourcing within those particular library districts. And then to dig a little bit deeper, there's close to 150 library districts across the nation that have 10 or more branches. And that's been a level to which we've really tried to dial in and identify library districts with similar features or leaders that have experience working within districts that have whether it's service population, the dynamics of the library district, et cetera, that we feel like could be potentially strong matches for this organization for this role at this time. And over the course of those few weeks, we've identified at this point, there are 4 individuals we'd like to talk to you about today and recommend that you meet with them as part of the first round interviews. There are some other folks that could be potentially added to the mix over the next week or so here, still in conversation with some folks. Just to give you a sense of the landscape, there's been a lot of turnover in this particular sector over the last several years. A large number of retirements from folks in prominent library districts that has since led to folks that would typically be both considered and interested in an opportunity like this that have already made moves over the last 12 months into different leadership roles with other library districts. There's currently several large vacancies at the moment for notable library districts, both in terms of the size, the market, the opportunity itself, that are also aggressively sourcing for candidates that would likely be considered for this particular role. So it is a tight market, but we have done a very thorough search across the country for qualified individuals that would be interested in this particular position, and want to be able to talk to you today about 4 folks that stand out that we recommend that you meet with. So for the purposes of today's meeting, we want to be able to keep that fairly high level and just give you sort of a sense of what their experience is in terms of level of ownership, where they've conducted that work, just to give you a sense of scale. So before I jump into that piece, wanted to see if there were any particular questions about what we're seeing in the market or where we've been searching to identify potential candidates.
Any questions on that before we move to share an overview of each of the candidates we recommend you interview next Monday?
Joyce, any questions?
Okay, I will.
Michael, did you hear any questions?
No questions.
I guess we're okay.
Okay, great. Again, please keep in mind, for purposes of candidate confidentiality, we are going to keep these overviews very, very high level. You will get these individuals' paperwork for their interviews, which happen on Monday. But again, for today's purpose, we want you to see that we've narrowed down to a group of 4 that we believe to be just very strong tier 1 candidates worthy of your consideration. So Chris, why don't you take the lead on this, and I may come in behind you with a couple of details as appropriate.
Yep. So candidate A, currently the interim director of a Midwestern Library District, comparable in size to Mid-Continent Public Library in terms of the number of branches, service population, has been in C-suite leadership roles within this library district for over a decade, with prior experience in other leadership roles, including library director for some other libraries within the Midwest. More than 25 years experience within the library industry and significant experience in library operations across a large district. Was really seemingly, beyond just the longevity, what stood out about this particular person. For our next candidate, candidate B, we'll refer to them. This individual is currently overseeing a library district of fewer than 5 locations, serving a population of around 250,000. 5 years experience as a library director within smaller districts, both in the Midwest and the Pacific Northwest. Currently, or experience within library districts as well that have a service population comparable to Mid-Continent Public Library. Total of 15 years professional experience in the library sector. What stood out really was as someone that's more of an up-and-comer within this sector. 15 years professional experience in the library sector, track record of innovative programming, lobbying for community support across various initiatives, strong business and financial acumen with experience in urban, suburban, and metropolitan settings. Candidate C, the last 5 years, this person has been the director of a library district that has roughly half the branches and staff of Mid-Continent, but serves a similar sized population in the Midwest. Prior experience was predominantly in the Northeast, was the director of a district with roughly 10 branches for close to 5 years, a library district or a library director of a single site public in the Northwest or Northeast as well prior to that. Over 30 years experience in the library sector, experience working with a blend of environments in terms of both regions of the country and political spectrums, also that mix of urban, suburban, rural, with a strong balance of both mission focus and business acumen. The fourth candidate that we want to recommend that y'all meet with next Monday, currently in a leadership level programming role with a Midwestern metropolitan district, comparable in terms of size for number of branches, staff, and service population to Mid-Continent Public Library. Over the last decade has been in various C-suite level positions within that library district, with nearly 20 years experience overall in the private sector, or in the library sector, with prior experience in the private sector as well. Strong experience in terms of community outreach and collaboration, with accomplishments specifically tied to school districts, justice systems, and experience doing large scale renovations of historical library facilities. So with that, again, recognizing that limited nature with which we can share information where we respect confidentiality, wanted to open up for any questions or feedback.
Question. John, question. I assume that all 4 of these candidates have a degree in library science.
That is correct. That we were basing that off of prior instruction regarding the legal requirement for this position.
Okay, and do any of these candidates have an advanced degree other than that?
Of these candidates, let me look quickly just to verify. I believe there's one that has no. At this point, every candidate we have, their highest degree attained was an MLIS.
Thank you.
Jocelyn?
It looks as if you've gotten, this is Joycelyn, looks like you've gotten candidates who have experience working with the similar populations to who we serve. I guess there also seems to be quite a variation in the size of the population and the number of branches between all these. It's my question in this would be, are these candidates the ones that you have seen so far that have pretty much experience working with large areas or large numbers of people, or as you should say, systems similar to ours?
We tried to identify a level of transferability in terms of their experience. So to your point, number of branches, the service population, working with large staffs, there's a certain level of scalability in terms of what they've done if they've not been in a district that is the size of Mid-Continent. So that played heavily into our evaluation process. If they were coming from smaller districts, what were the experiences, whether that was looking at experience in terms of business acumen, financial acumen, experience in terms of innovation, looking at work they've done with construction and renovation projects, working with the folks in their district to get levies approved for various initiatives, work with governing style board of directors, things of that nature, to ensure that if they weren't coming from either this particular region or a district of this size, that they have some experience that would indicate they may be a strong fit or have the transferable skills necessary.
Thank you. You answered my second question, so that's good. Thank you.
Michael? Questions?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
With regard to candidates B, C, and D, do you have any idea of how many persons were under their direct supervision or guidance?
Yes, I can. Let me start with, so candidate B. Excuse me.
Because I'm assuming they're all senior management or at some executive level, right?
They are either C-suite or in a director role.
Okay, great.
Well, let me clarify. So candidates A through C are all in director positions. Candidate D has not been in the director role, but has been in essentially the C-suite of a library district that is comparable in size.
Yeah, you mentioned there's the past 10 years were various roles, but all quite senior.
Correct.
Okay,
So-
if you have that information, that'd be great. If not, certainly email later on would be fine. We're in a, this is not anything that's current. So
Yeah.
one question was those to whom this person, the number of people that respond to this person at the next organizational chart down.
Yes, I can provide that, the full detailed information on each of them.
Anytime. Okay.
If you like. Just to
Sure.
be exact, but I can tell you from just quick overview. I know currently candidate B, you're looking at 4 direct reports. I believe the staff, the full-time equivalents under them is around 70. For candidate C, you are looking at.
Okay, Chris, that's okay. I know you're busy, but whatever you can give, that'd be fine. And another question is, do you know, for the persons who are in directorship roles right now, or what the annual budget is for that library system? And if you don't have it, we can pick it up later if you have it.
Those I have those in my notes. I can provide those to you in writing.
I'm sorry, what?
I have those in my notes here. So similar, if you look at
Okay, sure, anytime.
expedite, I can just provide it, follow it up in writing if that's okay.
Okay, and I'm assuming that all libraries are quasi-governmental. Are they broken down by those such as here, that's a special taxing district versus those that are within a more structured government such as a city library?
So in each of these cases, well, I guess candidate A would be a similar district. For candidates B, C, and D, they're all set up either through a city or a county.
Municipal, okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Gotcha.
Other questions?
Megan, it goes for you too.
Yeah, no, the only questions I have right now are just on our procedure for Monday. If you'd like me to jump to that, or I can wait until we discuss that.
Yeah, I was thinking, Shanna, that once we actually adjourn the meeting, that we stay on to just have a little bit of housekeeping. And so you can give us, and only for purposes of formulating our agenda, then of course Megan's our lawyer, and she'll give us guidance on what we should do for applicable sunshine, open meeting laws.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, be happy. Chris and I can certainly do that, and Carla as well.
Mhm.
All right, so I'd just like to remind you, and I think Chris set the table nicely at the beginning of this. We've talked to over 150 people on this search. We've interviewed many more than the 4 that we're recommending. As you remember from our initial conversations, when you engaged us as your partner, our job is to bring you a short list that we believe to be worthy of your consideration and what we would consider professionally best in class in terms of their skill set, experience, leadership style, all of that. So I think, again, for purposes of today, Chris did a nice job of setting the table. We will follow up with a little more detail that gives you budget and head count for each of these individuals. And then again, in advance of your interviews on Monday, you'll certainly have resumes for your consideration accordingly.
Okay, from the committee, any more questions, council?
Well, I don't know if this is appropriate for this meeting, but I'm just curious about the next 4. Is there a next 4 that you've processed to the point where you think there would be another 4 that would be qualified, although perhaps somewhat less than the top 4?
So I always say we could look forever and there will always be, someone else out there. Having done a very broad sourcing exercise, I can't tell you that there's a next 4 that's coming around the corner. I think Chris has one, possibly two individuals who were still giving some careful consideration. I suspect one of them is going to opt out of being considered. The other is a maybe. And if that individual gets back to us this week in further conversation and says, I'd like to move forward, then we will complete the interview. And then assuming we feel good about that individual's candidacy, we could certainly insert that person into this first round of interviews. Chris, I apologize. I think I jumped in on top of you. Anything you'd add?
No, I think you covered it well.
Michael?
Yeah, no,
One
no,
more
really, no,
question,
please.
yeah, no
Uh,
questions. So
Yeah, what are the total applications that have been received to date?
Including those that we've discussed today, there have been a total of 10 applicants, I apologize, 10.
Thank you.
And Chris, if the maybe should decide to pursue this, I'm perfectly satisfied. And of course, it's a committee decision, but I'm perfectly satisfied if you could just send whatever information as you did for A through D email, and then we'll have the real big, the big meeting on Monday.
Will do.
Great. So any other last chance for questions, comments?
I'd just like to say, considering that we kind of anticipate that there are only about 100, 150 people even meeting what we need for minimum qualification in a very close field, in a field that right now is kind of tight for hiring people. It looks like you've gotten us 4 individuals, like you said, that are worthy of consideration. I'm just a little disappointed that there weren't more applicants.
I am too.
That's all. But I understand what's going on. I'm just disappointed there weren't more.
I do have one other question, if I may. This is John. I'm just curious about your previous library placement and how many applications you got for that before you narrowed down and went through the process that we're going through now.
I would have to go back and do a little research on that. I don't have those figures at my fingertips to share right now.
Okay, thank you.
More questions? Okay, Chris, Shanna, thank you very much. The information has been hugely helpful and much appreciated.
Absolutely. So Ron, would you like for us to stay on to talk about run of show, or are you going to talk with your committee and then circle back to us?
Well, basically, all we're doing is, well, we can just do it right now. I'm gathering that when we meet Monday, all we'll do here is call the meeting to order, have a roll call, and then you will have the presentation of the candidates. Right?
Correct. And
Okay.
typically, Ron, the way we recommend that happen is candidate comes on, you as search committee chair will welcome the candidate, have your committee go around very quickly and introduce themselves, just a very, very quick soundbite. Then we turn to the candidate and allow the candidate to make some opening remarks for just 2 to 3 brief minutes. It's sort of their open mic time to share anything they'd like to about why they're interested, why they believe they're a good candidate, whatever they'd like to share. And then we pivot into traditional Q&A where your team would have an opportunity to ask questions of the candidate for about 40-ish minutes, 40 to 45. And then for the last 5, 7, 10 minutes, we recommend you flip the table and give the candidate an opportunity to ask you all 2 or 3 or 4 questions. Gives them some information, also is a great evaluation tool for you all to use. And then we're on to the next candidate. You know, Chris and I will be there. We will sort of choreograph, make sure candidates get on without any technical difficulty. Then typically we cut our mic and camera and allow these candidates to have this time with you all while we're still there, just to make sure things keep going. We stay on schedule, all of that. And then at the close of the final interview, we'll be back with you all as a committee to debrief, discuss, and make some decisions around next steps and with whom.
Good. Now, then, if I understand, you will be arranging for the times and the order of sequence of the people who will be
Correct.
interviewed. Okay.
Correct. That's where Carla works her magic and does great work in that respect. You all should be able to review the resumes and then truly show up and spend your time getting to know these candidates. I will encourage you, as Chris said, it is a very tight market right now. There are multiple searches going. This was, 150 people to get to 4 that we believe are really good options for you all. Again, we don't stop sourcing, but please remember, you are recruiting and evaluating simultaneously. So it's very important, I think, that each of these candidates has a very good experience with you all in this initial round interview.
Yes.
That's a good point.
Ron, if I may.
Yeah, Megan, our lawyer.
Hi, I have been fielding some questions to prepare for Monday from different committee members. And I understand that the Zooms are only 1 hour each. My concern is there may be more questions than there is time for right now. But with the 4 candidates, are we keeping them at 1 hour each? And then my second follow-up would be, would you then anticipate that additional questions would be asked at the second round interview? Or would you have committee members pass questions through you that they may need answered between then?
We can do that either way, Megan. Couple of options that I would offer. One, I do think, framing your questions for a first round, quite often it's helpful to really look at sort of your key competency areas, top priorities for this person, and build those questions or select those questions accordingly so that you don't go too terribly deep in one area during an initial interview. And then certainly in a follow-up interview with those with whom you're interested in continuing the discussion, you can certainly go much deeper on a number of different areas. So that would be one option. Carla, could we build in with your schedule? Is it possible for them to have 1 hour and 15 minutes with each candidate, or is that too tight for a day?
No, I think we'd be fine with adding time to it because we had the whole day blocked out 9 to 5. So I think I can manipulate that and still include lunch maybe.
And some discussion at the close.
Mm-hmm.
Megan, would that help get a little more time?
I think so. And
Okay.
it may be that some candidates have more questions than others.
Correct. And here's what you'll find with some candidates, an hour will fly by and they will leave you wanting more. Sometimes if interviews don't go quite as well, it can be the longest hour of your life. And that's where we figured that 1 hour is kind of a nice sweet spot. But what we can do is we can set the expectation with candidates. Your interview will last somewhere between an hour and 15 minutes to give you a little buffer. But if you need that extra time with some, you can certainly take advantage of that.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Now, I had a question just for clarification. Your staff is going to help us manage and stay on time.
Yes,
Okay.
we will do that.
Thank you.
So Ron, I have a question. So in terms of Mid-Continent Public Library, the question that I have is this our meeting or is it CLCB's meeting and is it joint? So do we set up the Zoom for, roll call and then do we go into closed session and then they take over, or is this an ad hoc committee meeting? Because we obviously don't want to put that on Zoom, right? Because you've got the candidates. So for just internally, we need to figure out, again, is this, and Ron and I kind of talked about this, whose meeting is it? And is it a combo of both?
Yeah, but
I think we're still on. Are we still on? being recorded?
I think we're
Yeah,
still
we
being
are.
recorded,
We
right?
are.
Yeah, yeah, I thought this is kind of the housekeeping stuff we can pick up, okay? But you-
Oh, okay, I'm
we'll
sorry.
address it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, heavens, no, you're.
I'm sorry.
Fine, no.
You too.
Good.
I'm sorry.
So any other questions or comments? Great, okay. Chris, Shannon, thank you so much. Again, we are very much indebted to all the work you and your colleagues and firm have done, and look forward to being on Zoom next Monday, and certainly much contact, email, whatever before then.
Wonderful. That sounds great. Well, we'll get busy on a schedule and structure and stay close to you all and look forward to seeing you on Monday.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
So, any other questions?
I just need to review the timeline where, Monday, this coming Monday, is
Yeah.
that?
First interview.
Okay, so I
Did you get that schedule about a month ago? The dates and everything?
I've had all kind of trouble
Yeah, I can send it to you again.
email.
Okay, well, we'll get that for you. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but I think I've got that. I think I've got that.
Okay, because I don't recall the date specifically, but we're going to have our first round next Monday, but a week and a half later, the second round if necessary.
Right.
Then there'll be site visits here by whoever's decided upon to review the system.
Right.
And branches, the office, meet the executive staff.
Yeah.
And then we reconvene as a committee to.
And I do think it's very important that we take to heart what was said about we are recruiting as well as testing, capability.
Can we stop just for a second? Are we still, is the meeting still going on? Or
I think it is.
Yeah, oh yeah, the meeting's still going on, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm still recording.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she said recruiting and evaluating, and that's exactly.
Yeah. Right.
And ultimately too, it boils down to a contract. It has to be, the terms would have to be identified and agreeable by both sides, otherwise there's nothing.
Oh, right. Yeah. Even after the selection, there will be, discussion about contract and
That's
details.
absolutely, absolutely. Okay. So anything else for the committee? Okay, if nothing else, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I move we adjourn. This is Michael.
This is John. I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor, please say